This conference will now be recorded.
Hi. How are you, Christine and Christopher? Thank you so much for sitting down with me today and answering questions that I know that all my clients will be interested in hearing about. I understand we're all in a different new normal, and your group I've been working with for quite some time personally, and I've asked you to share your knowledge and your expertise about finance and help us along in this new normal. So if I may, could I ask you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure. So I'll go first because, age before beauty, something like that. So anyway, Christopher MUNSUNEGGI, president of MUNSUNEGGI Financial Group. We are a family-owned financial planning and consulting firm, basically clients all over the country, but our headquarters is in the South Hills of Pittsburgh in the Braintree, Mount Lebanon area. And Christine has a practice here too.
Hi, I'm Christine Pacutis Musanegi. I am also in practice. I specialize in working with small businesses and the self-employed, and we're all going through a lot right now. I see my role in working with individuals as being the person who helps people to make wise decisions. We like to say here that we are the people who help you make wise decisions with your money.
Very good, very good. Well, I did have some, just to begin with, your group that's been down in the Braintree area, has a lot of your clients been asking questions about this COVID situation that we're in, the virus, and how it will be impacting our finances? So one of the questions that my people have been asking me is if you have savings already versus if you are struggling and you don't have any savings, what would you suggest in these times of uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. The answer is it depends. So there is no one simple answer for everybody. If you have money put aside, that's great, but are you potentially going to need some of that money over the next few months? And if you do, well, maybe you need to keep that money nice and safe and in the bank. Right, Christine?
Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things we've been talking about a lot with people is people whose incomes have been impacted by the virus. If you've been fortunate enough to continue to be paid your normal income and you have sufficient savings, and we like to say 3 to 6 months in the bank is your sufficient savings, there's a couple of things that you could consider doing. If you're good, if your income remains steady or at least predictable, and you've got that nest egg already set up, we like to talk about paying down some debt, paying down some good debt, something that's going to free up your cash flow later. If that's not an option, and maybe you're good managing your debt and you're good with cash flow and you're really thinking about, well, I've got this money in savings, is this a good time to invest? If you have extra money and you haven't yet filed your 2019 income tax, know that the April deadline, which has just passed, has been moved until July 15th. So that is an opportunity for you to, if you qualify, to put some money away in the form of an IRA, a traditional IRA, a deductible or a non-deductible, or also a Roth IRA. If you have extra money and you're looking to invest, but you're worried about the stock market going down a little bit or just even being volatile in general, we use something called dollar cost averaging, and all that means is you're putting into the market a little bit at a time, maybe a couple $100s a month. You're deploying it from your savings into an investment, getting into the market slowly over time. Doesn't mean that you're going to put it all at once, put it in all at once, and then have it be at risk for going down all at once. So we like to recommend that if you have a surplus in your savings, if you have extra money and you're thinking this is a buying opportunity, do it slowly. And if you're doing it slowly and you can qualify for some type of tax deduction, then by all means do it that way too.
Okay, good. That answers a lot of questions. So does your climate, your financial climate, and the experts that you've been watching and following, how long do they project that the economy will be struggling? And do you recommend doing in the length of what they're projecting? What should we do with our money? Should we set it aside, thinking that we're not going to be able to go back out into the world full stream for a couple months, or what are they actually projecting?
Well, the interesting thing is it depends on the part of the economy you're talking about. So some things like car sales, which now are available online in Pennsylvania, those things will probably come back a little faster. Other things like discretionary income that people use to go to Steeler games or go to movies, that part of the economy may not come back as quickly because people don't want to be around each other. Or around that many people all at the same time. Restaurants are another one that probably struggle. Again, are people going to want to pick up and take their families to restaurants to be around 100 or 200 other people while there's still some uncertainty out there about what's going on with this and whether or not it's going to come back. So those parts of the market may take a little longer to come back. Other parts of the market may not. So it's really just a matter of figuring out, what industry you're in and how it's been impacted. The medical industry, obviously, they've been impacted less financially because they're still working, but more emotionally, more mentally. So there's different types of things we have to think about when we're talking about when the economy will come back. Now, if we're just talking about when will everybody be able to get back to normal, I'm not sure that we're ever going to get back to what we had as normal. It's going to be a different normal going forward. And so, again, more, video conferencing like these, more of these video happy hours and things that people are doing may become a little more normal. People may stay home a little bit more. So it just really depends on how people react and how comfortable they are eventually getting back out there and participating in the world. And the longer that takes, the longer it'll take our economy as a whole to come back. But again, there'll be certain sectors like technology, again, because we're all using this now, that'll come back pretty quickly.
Now, one question that I have is for my clients that are struggling paycheck to paycheck, and they've never had the opportunity to save or have a buffer, and they might not have an income coming in except for maybe a little bit of unemployment. Can they take money out of their 401k or their retirement funds?
Take this one. This is a detailed, long answer. The short answer is yes. If they have their own individual retirement accounts, meaning if they have an IRA or if they have a Roth, what the new CARES Act has provided, and the CARES Act was a new law that was signed into place back not too long ago, a few weeks ago in March. It's the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. What that did is it relates to IRAs and then also retirement plans, but in the vein of the IRAs, it will waive the early withdrawal penalty. So if you're under the age of 59 and a half, traditionally, if you take money from your IRA, you're charged a 10% penalty. That penalty is waived, and you can take out up to $100,000 from your IRA and still have that penalty be waived. The more complicated piece of that answer really pertains to how retirement plans and employer retirement plans work. So I'm going to read some of these things just to make sure that we don't miss anything here. I would say the first thing to do is to check with your employer. To see if they have enacted these amendments. So the amendments are the fact that you can now take a withdrawal from your retirement plan, or you can take a different type of loan. And the way that you're qualified and the ability to do that, the CARES Act refers to you as a qualified individual. So to be a qualified individual, you have to be someone who has been diagnosed with COVID-19. you have to have someone who has, and these are all or, either you were diagnosed by a test, your spouse or dependent was diagnosed, you've experienced any adverse financial consequences as a result of being quarantined, being furloughed, laid off, having work hours reduced due to the disease or virus, or being unable to work due to lack of childcare. Another caveat is you may also become a qualified individual if your business who you work for is closing or they've offered you reduced hours. So really, it comes down to, is your family impacted? Do they have the virus? Are you impacted? Is your stream of income, is your employer impacted and then resulting in lower income for you? Or have you had a loss of childcare? And loss of childcare could be from another individual who has the virus, or it could be the childcare place, or place where your kids are getting care. If any of those things come into play, you're considered a qualified individual. As a qualified individual, you can then be able to take money out of your 401k plans. You can take it out in one form as a distribution. So all that means is typically inside of a 401k, your normal retirement age is going to be 59 and a half. The retirement age is still 59 and a half, but now you're allowed to take that money out of the plan where you weren't able to take it out before. You can take the money out. It's included in your taxable income. You can pay it back over a 3-year period. And normally when you would take money out of your 401k, there's an automatic 20% withholding, and that has been waived. So now you have more money in your pocket. You can pay it back to the plan over a 3-year period, and the maximum that you can take out is $100,000 from your 401k. The other provision inside of a 401k plan, as it is right now, there's a lot of plans who have normal loans. You can go in if you're buying a house or doing some home remodeling, something like that. You always have access, if your plan allows, to take a loan on your money. You're loaning yourself the dollars and you're paying back through payroll deduction. What this does with the CARES Act is it allows you to take more out. You can take out up to $100,000 again, or 100% of your vested balance, or everything that you're entitled to in the plan. So money that has rolled into the plan, money that you've put in, if there's a match, whatever you're vested in the match, you can have the greater of $100,000 come out in the form of a loan, or that total amount that you're vested in. The loans have to be taken out before the end of September 23rd of this year. So for people who have lost some hours and are either furloughed or maybe fully on unemployment and waiting for unemployment to come in, and they do have a 401k that they've been added to, or they've been adding to, I would say the very first thing to do is contact the employer, contact your HR person, find out if they have added these CARES provisions, and if they have, look to see if you have the withdrawal provision or if you have the loan provision. It's a matter of forms, matter of paperwork. They can get the money to you in the form of a check or send a direct deposit to your bank. So there are some options for someone who's in that situation that, all of their assets are tied up inside their work plan. So that's definitely something to look into, and make sure you check with the employers on that.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. And again, this is another one of those, every situation is going to be different. And so figuring out which plan of attack makes most sense for you is really going to be the important thing for people to work on. Figuring out, should they take a loan? Should they take a withdrawal? Should they take it from an IRA? Should they take it from a 401k? Should they take it at all? So again, just a lot of different things out there to choose from.
Right. Well, it's good that they even enacted that. I was not aware that they enacted that. Now, for the people, because we've touched on this a little bit in conversation, I've been making care calls to all my clients, and a couple of my clients, when I mentioned that we were going to be talking with you, we were joking around, well, this is the perfect time to invest because the stock market's down. Now it goes up and down like a yo-yo, but if say, for instance, I had some money that I knew was set aside and I was planning on investing, would you recommend that now is the time to invest, or is that going to be sort of like a sector, that some stocks are going to be good times to invest in and then other times not to? Do you have anything to elaborate on that with us?
Yeah, well, when it comes to investing, whether you're investing during a pandemic or you're just investing during regular times, the first thing is making sure that that money is money that you don't need for a good 3 to 5 years. Because while we don't typically have pandemics, we do have corrections in the market. These kinds of things happen. We haven't seen one since 2008, or at least a big one since 2008. So we tend to forget that these corrections do happen from time to time. So once you've decided that, yes, I can put this money in there, this isn't the money I'm using to buy a car next year, this isn't my vacation money, this is my investment money, then from there it's a matter of trying to decide what to invest in. And one thing we work with our clients is really trying to not pick and choose any one particular stock, because you just never know what's going to happen with one stock. So what we do is we recommend that people look at different types of mutual funds. And if there is a segment of the market that you want, there are sector funds. So if you just want to invest in healthcare, we can do that. But if you just want to invest in companies that we think are going to grow over the next decade, well, we can do that too. And so when you invest in those types of things, instead of just picking that one stock and hoping it really works out for you, you're getting 50 to 200 stocks that are all inside of this one fund. So it helps to diversify your investment, gives you some opportunity to grow. But if that one particular stock you purchased goes down and it's part of another 150, you don't feel the losses badly as if you just went out and bought one particular stock and it happened to go down. So really looking to see what you're comfortable with, what sectors you think are going to work well going forward. And if you've never really invested, again, finding something that's really diversified that will allow you to get used to the ups and the downs of investing is a good way to get started. So now more seasoned people, you can get a little more specific. You can get really detailed and invest in some things that might be a little riskier. But for the average investor that we're working with, we're looking at good, strong mutual funds that again are nicely diversified, that give us an opportunity to grow over time. We're not I always tell our clients, our job is not to hit home runs when we choose investments. Our job is to hit lots of singles and maybe get some doubles every so often so that we can grow. This is what we refer to as our clients' serious money. If you've got play money, find a casino. Just basically picking any one particular stock, you're doing the same thing. You're putting it on black. You're hoping that it's going to hit. We want to take our clients' serious money, invest it, and let it grow for the long term. And because the market's down right now, it is a good opportunity. As Christine mentioned earlier, you don't have to take all the money you have and dump it in right this second. You can put a little in today, put a little in next week, next month. Again, spread it out over time, so that you can, take advantage of sort of the ebbs and flows of the market, especially right now. In the last couple of days, we had two big downs, and it looks like we've got a big up today. So, investing can be, one of my favorite descriptions of investing is, investing can be like going to Kennywood and getting on the Thunderbolt, or it can be like getting on the Turtles. So neither one of them's right or wrong. It's all going to depend on you. So I like the Turtles. The Turtles are a great ride. Not necessarily how I invest. I do this for a living, so I'm a little closer to Thunderbolt, but not everybody is. So we have to figure out what makes the most sense for you and what you're going to be comfortable with.
I like that analogy. I totally identify with it. I can get it. And I guess since we've never had this pandemic and we've never had a situation, and this is completely uncharted territory for the most part, our country, when it goes back to this new normal, some people are referring to current as a new normal, but I guess what I'm referring to is when we begin to congregate in, say, baseball games and events, when we get to that point that we are integrating with people again and interacting, what financial pointers should we really begin to adopt as a habit?
I mean, I think, well, first of all, I think people shouldn't wait. You should start, especially if you've got time now, if you are home, sit down and look at what your budget looks like. People hear that word and they just like freak out because they think that means that they can't spend a dime more than what's in their budget. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, look at where you're spending your money. The perfect example, I was talking to a client the other day, and she has satellite radio and she was paying $20 a month for it. And I said, I have the exact same package, it only cost me $7. Go online and chat with them and they'll lower it to $7. So start looking at those things you spend money on right now and try and find savings, and then take that savings and either A, pay off debt, or B, start to try and build up that stash of cash so that, if something like this happens in the future, or if, we get back to normal and your furnace blows, you've got money sitting there that you can use to pay for that. So you're not putting it on a credit card or something like that. So trying to find now just some small changes that you can make to help you start saving to get through this. And then once we get through it, don't go back to those old habits. Keep these habits. If you are able to survive without going to Starbucks, 7 days a week right now, when we get out of this, you can probably survive without going to Starbucks for 7 days a week. So even if you just cut out 2 days, and save that money, so starting to do those things right now, and then again, taking those lessons that you've learned while we're going through this and continuing to implement them when we get back to whatever this new normal is, will allow people to survive and thrive as we continue to go through. So the more planning you do now while you've got the time to do it, the better off you'll be once we do get to that new normal and we can get back out there to going to games and things like that.
Yeah.
I think we have some very special clients who refer to their budget strategy as being in selective poverty. And I think that's a fantastic way to do it, because they're mentally saying, this is what I need. This is what I need in my life. I need my car payment. I need my water. I need my food and things like that. And these are the things that I want. And they really have a clear line between their needs and their wants. And they'll give up the wants for now, just so in the future they know that they can do the things that people can't do. They can have freedom, that their lives can be easier. So this is a good time to, figure out what your selective poverty looks like too.
Yeah. Gary Keller, as you know, I work for Keller Williams, and Gary Keller immediately told everyone, look at your budget. And that's what we did. We cut anything that was an essential out. And I found that I didn't need it. I did not have to have those things in my budget. So it's shaped our worlds, and it's forced us. Now, what steps do you recommend to do as a family to prepare financially in this volatile time? Because now everyone's paying more attention to their families because we have time to actually see our family.
Well, the first thing we recommend to people is, and I'm going to use you as an example, Elaine. You have a daughter. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they are not teaching her personal financial behavior in school. Right. So
No.
this is a great opportunity for us to teach our kids how to budget, how to save money, how to put money away, how to prepare for financial downturns in the economy. So this is a real opportunity, I think, for families to get together and talk to your family so that they understand, not just families where you have a child like yours who's still young, but we also have families that we see from time to time where you have parents in their 60s and 70s who are still helping to support their 30 and 40-year-olds. Like, they need to have a conversation too about what they can and cannot do. And so this is the opportunity to do that and let everybody understand what the limitations are going to be going forward, because we can only do so much for each other. And yes, we want to be helpful to our family, we want to be there for them, but you can't always do that. So having some hard conversations right now may be a great thing to do, so that when we come out on the other side of this, people are better prepared to understand what the limitations of their cash flow is. And if through this process, again, we can teach the next generation to understand that running up thousands and thousands of dollars in debt on credit cards and things like that is not a good thing, I think this could turn into a huge win for us as a society. So we've really been lax in teaching financial literacy to our youth. So I think maybe this will give us an opportunity to do that.
I think the takeaways from the other things that we can be doing, not just on the financial literacy piece, but actually talking about what income is, what money means to you as a family, what is wealth? Does it mean time? Does it mean freedom? Why do you work? Why do you spend money on the things that you spend on? So identifying a purpose to those things, evaluating your wants and your needs, involving the family in the conversation. And we just talked about this, limiting any type of discretionary spending. But I also wanted to mention a lot of the programs that are out there right now that can help your personal financial situation. I've been doing a lot of conversations with people who still have their law school loans or Parent Plus loans out there. If you have student loans, Parent Plus loans, go to your service provider, whether that's Navient or Sallie Mae or Great Lakes, ACS. Talk to them, see if you qualify for the 0% interest rate and or the administrative forbearance. So what the administrative forbearance is it is basically stopping your payments. Those loan providers are stopping your payments from now until September 30th. So if you have income and you are in good shape and you are someone who is still working, suddenly you've got loans that were anywhere from 3% to 8% interest rates. They're now down to 0%. Keep making payments on those. It's only a couple of months, but you can knock down some principal on there. So when the loans come back on, you're in a better position. So those loan practices are out there. Another thing that we've been talking about since interest rates started to drop, we're looking at the mortgage that you hold, your line of credit, your loan of credit. Talk to your bank, your lender, see if there's a position or a place to refinance that right now. We haven't seen interest rates this low for a while. One of the other things that we're looking at is the fact that a lot of the auto manufacturers are out there. Now they can do it online at this point, but we've seen a lot of manufacturers trying to get you into a new vehicle for 0% interest rate. In addition to the 0% on some of the buys we've also seen, they will waive the payments for 90 to 120 days. So if you're coming off lease, if you need a new vehicle, if you're in that position, shop first. Maybe it's not the car or truck that you want, but if the numbers have any help to that, to make you lean one way or another, there are a lot of programs out there. If you're still working, but your hours have been cut, or if you are self-employed and you're a 1099 person and your revenue is down because of the virus, because of COVID-19, you can now file for unemployment compensation. So there's a lot going on around that. I'm hopeful that the most recent information that the portal is being updated in Pennsylvania is correct, is out there, but know that if you're not a W-2 person, if you're not a salaried person, some of the things that came out of all of these new bills and laws getting passed is that there is some relief out there. Depending if you qualify, the IRS is also doing a stimulus into your bank accounts. Families of two, most people can get $2,400 if your gross income or as a joint filing. Family is below $150,000, I think. If you have another child to add to the picture, I think you have an extra $600. So there are some situations where the stimulus comes into play. There's also the the Paycheck Protection Act for small businesses. They're supposed to be releasing another, I think it's 320 billion, 75 billion of that going to hospitals, 25 billion for coronavirus testing. We're hoping to see that come into play by Thursday. So there are a lot of things that you can be doing as a family, whether you're an individual, a small business owner, someone who's been furloughed or laid off. There are other things outside of just investing that you can do for good financial security and financial literacy. And that's working with the debt that you owe, trying to restructure that, paying it in a smart way, and taking advantage of what programs are out there right now too.
That's wonderful information. Thank you so much, and I thank you for all your time. I know it's been a great help because you touched on a lot of things that my clients have been talking to me on my care calls about. And this is the time that education, and at least we have these different programs to help us. And we have groups like yourself that help us in the long run. It's just not in times like this that we need to be talking to you. We need to be paying attention and treating our lives like a business. And I thank you so much. You are both very dear to me, and I really appreciate. I give you my money, and I know it's in good hands. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart and from Keller Williams. This is Elaine Shetler-Libent, and please feel free to give Christopher and Christine a call at the MUNSUNEGGI Financial Group. They're fabulous people. I will happily endorse them and give them high accolades. So thanks, guys. If you want to give your phone numbers before we shut off, I'll be recording this and sending this out to all my people. So
Let me jump in with our little compliance disclosure, and then I'll let Christopher close with our contact information. So our housekeeping is that securities and investment advisory services are offered through HBEC Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. HBEC Inc. and the MUNSUNEGGI Financial Group are not affiliated.
So now all the compliance people are happy. If you'd like to reach out to us, the easiest thing to do is you can visit our website at www.mfgplanners.com, and on there, if you pull us up, we have actually our calendar is there's links to our calendar on there, and so people can choose either a phone call or we can do a webinar like this, so we can actually see each other. Whatever works for everybody. So you can pick our calendars for either Christine or I and set a time to talk. Again, I think a lot of this stuff is great general information, but everybody's situation is different. So taking the time to talk to somebody about your individual situation is hugely important. So, and thank you, Elaine, for having us. We really appreciate it. We're always happy to be here, and obviously we would always love to do stuff like this for you, but also for those out there who see this, please feel free to contact us. We're always willing to help a friend of Elaine's.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I will give endorsements and send your contact information out, but I thank you. It does make